Kartika. We can start, I think, 4 plus.
Okay, good evening to all. Keshav Memorial Institute of Commerce and Sciences welcomes you all to the 6th day of this 1-week faculty development program. The session today will be on creative pedagogy. Creativity helps us to see things differently, recognize ideas and possibilities which help in solving problems. Creative pedagogy is the science and art of creative teaching. It is a known fact that teachers play an important role in student learning, and hence teachers need to equip themselves about how to teach creatively, which will amplify the inquisitiveness and willingness to learn. How creativity in teaching results in successful learning would be dealt by Mrs. K. Anuradha in today's session. I invite Mrs. L. Deepika, Faculty Department of English, to introduce the speaker of today's session.
Okay, ma'am. Good evening, madam.
Good evening. Namaste.
Keshav Memorial Institute of Commerce and Sciences welcomes you all for the FDP Day 6. It gives me immense pleasure in introducing the speaker of today's session, Mrs. K. Anuradha. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Mrs. K. Anuradha is lecturer in English, presently engaged in teaching intermediate students at an institution, Bhavan Sri Aurobindo Junior College, working under the aegis of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. She is a postgraduate in English from the University of Hyderabad. She has been teaching the subject to intermediate and undergraduate students since 1998. Her interest in psychology, philosophy, and English literature have helped her in creating a unique learning experience for her students. Organizing symposiums on various topics and promoting recreational linguistics helps her in motivating the children to transform into a better version of themselves. Now, I request Mrs. K. Anuradha Madam to give her valuable lecture on today's topic, creative pedagogy. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Namaste. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Kartika ma'am and Deepika ma'am for that wonderful introduction you've given. First of all, let me just submit my namaskarams, my humble salutations to all the revered elders, the respected members of the teaching fraternity, and all the others who've joined this particular session, the role of a teacher in nation building. This is indeed a very profound moment for me. I think it is divine providence. I think it is divine providence. I actually think it is divine blessing that I am here to talk about something and contribute something to such a wonderful program that's been envisaged by the Keshav Memorial College. So let me, from the depth of my heart, thank and place on record my sincere gratitude to the college and all the faculty of the college who've been involved in envisaging and executing this particular program and so effectively. And at the outset, I would also like to offer my salutations to all my teachers who've been responsible, who've been whatever work we may be doing, because we have different roles to play other than being a teacher in our personal lives. Whatever work we may be doing, maybe going to a shop to pick up provisions, or cooking at home, or washing utensils, or cleaning up, doing all kinds of household chores. At the back of our mind, just because we are teachers, at the back of our mind, this particular thought keeps running. How can I make my next class better? How can I actually contribute to the understanding of my children in a better way? This thing keeps running. I'm sure all of you would agree with me. Whatever work we may be indulged in, okay, whatever work we may be occupied with, This particular thought is always running in the background. And this is a main aspect of being a teacher. You cannot compartmentalize. You can't leave the teacher in the college and come home. The teacher is it's a part of our lives. It doesn't matter. Coming to creative pedagogy, okay? And this particular thing can be better explained by taking a little shloka from our rich cultural tradition. And what does that shloka say? It says, Amantram aksharam nasti, nasti moolam anaushadham, yogaha yogya. They should not feel inferior. What we do in the classroom is of absolute it's absolutely your worth. So this is precisely what we need to understand. The next point I would like to mention here is a lot of people say that creativity in a classroom depends upon the kind of infrastructure we have, audio visual equipment and the tools and all those things. Let me just tell you a point over here. Infrastructure, confines of the syllabus, all these kind of limitations that we have should not stop us from being creative. These are not obstacles at all. We can always overcome them. Take the example of Dr. Abdul Kalam himself. Okay, how come Dr. Abdul Kalam was so impressed by the teacher who didn't have any tools to show them the takeoff of an aeroplane? He simply took the students to the beach and he showed how the bird takes off. And he built up such a beautiful impression in a student like Dr. Abdul Kalam, who was so inspired by the teaching of his teacher that he went on to try and becoming a pilot. And from there, his life took off to on another trajectory altogether that helped him reach great heights, the missile man of India. In an interview, actually, Dr. Abdul Kalam was asked how would he like to be remembered as a president of India, as a missile man, as a scientist. He simply said that he would like to be remembered as a teacher. That's the kind of power a teacher wields. We can make and break people. And so we need to be very careful while executing our duties. And one of the duties that we have is to make the class engaging. We are being very, very careful over here, okay? We need to make the class interesting enough so that the students are totally immersed in what is happening and they take in like a sponge, they take in everything that's happening there. Okay, and for this, there are many innumerable strategies. And the research is still continuing. People are coming up with different strategies how to make a classroom interesting for people. Right? So there are, few of the things that we are all very familiar with is brainstorming, debates, discussions, seminars. So many of them are happening. And I'm a language teacher, basically. Okay, I teach English to my students. And coming to prose, poetry, and short stories, as science teachers also, you would be able to understand what I'm talking about. So let me just use an example from my own class. Coming to prose lessons or poetry or short stories, I'm actually very confident of being able to reach the students when I become visual, when I start giving visual explanations of what I'm reading out. I create a visual imagery for them. That far, I am successful. And I can see that the students are totally involved in the classroom. I can see the spark of understanding in their eyes. But then the challenge happens when I come to topics like, for instance, vocabulary. Okay, we have English faculty over here also from Keshav Memorial listening. So they would be definitely able to relate to what I'm saying. Vocabulary, that's a part of the syllabus that I have to teach. Learning the word and learning mugging up the meaning does not help them at all. It's so disinteresting and it can actually get monotonous. So one particular day in the class, because it's a part of the syllabus, I started off. I told them about why vocabulary is important. They got it. Then I told them about how active vocabulary and passive vocabulary are the two categories we have, and how passive vocabulary can be turned into active vocabulary when you use the words you know. All this thing was going on and on. I could see that slowly the attention of the students was wandering. Now, what do? I had to change tactics. So I came up with a different tactic. I started talking about how English is a derivative language. I started bringing up words from French and German. These are two languages I'm a little familiar with. And the pronunciations and all those things, how they've been helpful in formulating the English language, where we have more words which are derived from these languages. So again, for a little while, the attention was there. And then I told them how you can actually develop your vocabulary by taking the root words and formulating trying and understanding from the root words what those particular words mean. That also worked only to a point. But what I wanted from the children was not happening. I saw that the children were definitely getting diverted totally. Their mind was not here. Real listening was not happening. They were just hearing mechanically, but listening was not happening. Now, we know the difference between hearing and listening, right? They were not paying attention. So I had to go for some other tactic. This is what happens, creativity, there is no set rule. What works for one particular class may not work for another. What works in one particular situation may not work in another situation. So we have to keep changing. Then and there, we need to think on our feet. That agility in thinking has to be developed by teachers. At that moment, we have to try and shift our strategy. And I would like to request all of you to indulge me for a few minutes. Humor me for a few minutes, because I'm trying out a little strategy with you as well. A little experiment that I did with my students on that particular day. I just asked them to write down 7 words. If you have a pen and paper with you, you can just make a note of them, or otherwise just remember these words. The words that I have given them were, I would remember, let me just remind you that I was teaching 10 plus 1 and 10 plus 2 students. Okay. And here I was telling them to write down the words, about 6 or 7 words. And the words were oddity, sly. You can actually check out if you know these meanings. I'm sure most of you know them, but still, the words were oddity, sly, beseech, preen, fad, and frazzled. Pedagogy. These were the 7 words I gave them. And then I began to tell them a story. The story went like this. Okay, this story that I'm going to narrate to you, is picked up from Rudyard Kipling's book, Just So Stories. And it talks about how the elephant got its long nose. And I told them that as I'm narrating the story, I'm going to use these particular words. I began the story. I told them how long, long ago, in the deep jungles of Africa, there lived a herd of elephants who actually had pudgy noses. They did not have long noses the way we see the elephants having today. And among these herd of elephants, there is one particular baby elephant who actually had a lot of questions in his mind. And one particular day, the elephant went and asked his mother, "Mother, can you tell me, what does the crocodile eat for its breakfast?" And the mother said that she was very busy and asked the elephant to go and find out the answer from someone else. So the elephant moved on to the other animals. And none of them gave him an answer. So he sat down in the shade of a tree. When he was sitting down in the shade of a tree, a snake came by. And we know snakes are sly creatures. They always end up trying to trouble. And this particular snake came up and asked the elephant what was its trouble. And what the elephant said was, "I'm not able to get an answer to one of my questions, and that is what does the crocodile eat for its breakfast?" The snake just turned to the elephant and said, why don't you find it out for yourself? Why keep asking people? Now, this is a beautiful pedagogical technique that all teachers use, practically getting to know what you want to know. So the elephant thought it was a brilliant idea, and he went to the banks of the Limpopo River. He saw a crocodile basking in the sun over there, approached the crocodile and said, can you just clear my doubt? Can you just tell me what you have for your breakfast? The crocodile said that it was a secret and asked the elephant to bend down. Now the elephant bent down to the level of the crocodile. And you know what the crocodile did? It immediately opened its jaws and snapped them shut. This elephant was an agile one, so it just took a step back. But unfortunately, the nose got caught between the jaws of the crocodile. And you can guess, it's anybody's guess what must have happened. The crocodile was pulling on one side and the elephant on the other side, and the nose became longer and longer by some principle of elasticity. This went on and on and on. And after some time, they got frazzled out. Both the crocodile and the elephant got frazzled out. And the crocodile let the elephant go, but the elephant now had a very long nose. Okay, he went back home, and everybody started laughing at him when they saw him because he was an oddity. Everybody thought he was very different. And so he went to his mother, and his mother consoled him, saying that it's all right. There is a silver lining for every cloud. You can use this trunk for other purposes. And from then on, the elephant started using this trunk of his for different purposes, like plucking the fruit from the topmost branches of the trees. Okay, having a nice shower bath, giving a whack to the people who dared to tease him. All this was going on. And now this particular trunk of the elephant became a new fad. Everybody wanted it. So what they did was they came to the elephant and they said, can you just tell us, we beseech you, please tell us, where did you get this nose from, this long nose from? The elephant typically preened a little and then said, far away from here, there's a Limpopo River. You can go there and see the crocodiles there and get your noses pulled. This is how the story went. I told them the story, and then I asked the students to tell me the meanings of the words that they had written down. 90% of them came up with the meanings. And this particular little activity that I had done there was very useful for me to tell them how they could improve their vocabulary. Okay, this is actually what we call self-discovery. From reading a particular book and picking up the meaning of the word from the context, the students have been successful in discovering and learning for themselves what that word meant without any assistance from the teacher. Vocabulary is one such thing, and there's another strategy that is often used in the classroom, and that is role play. Role play is most often used by the language teachers when we come to dramas. It can be very, very effective. Role play can be very effective, multiple benefits. One particular thing, one straight benefit from that we can get is to be able to understand what the story is all about or what the lesson is all about. Okay, and this actually fosters something like what we call creativity in them. When there is a particular group of students who've been assigned the work of creating a particular script for a story, they put all their creative energies into it and they make up the story and they enact it out on the stage. It gives a great feeling to see for the other students to be able to see what's happening in the story and thereby learning what's in the story as such. Okay, and there are multiple benefits I told. One thing is they're being creative. Second thing, they lose their fear. Third thing, without actually going to the textbook repeatedly, they know what is in the story. Okay, and role play, let me tell you, has another benefit also. When we are actually talking about how a nation building is possible by educating students. Now, role play can actually help us in this. Let us say we ask a particular student to play the character of somebody like Abdul Kalam or Nehru or Gandhi or somebody who is an icon of a particular ideal. What happens when the student is playing that role is they internalize, they take in the ideals and the ideology of that particular role that they are playing. That is precisely what happens there. Okay, and the importance of this can be really understood very well when I think I can just give you a small analogy here as well. From the Ramayana, I don't remember which version of the Ramayana, but there is one particular incident that is pretty famous about role play. After Ravan had abducted Sita and took her away to Lanka, and he was coercing her to become his consort, it so happened that one particular day a servant approached him and just asked Ravan, if you really are so eager to have Sita as your consort, why don't you, with your magic, turn into Lord Ram and deceive her? And then immediately, with a horrified look, Ravan turned to that person and said, that's pretty easy to do. I have magical tricks with me. But the problem is, if I turn into Lord Ram, then I would definitely, adopt skills and the character of Lord Ram, and I will not be myself anymore. This is precisely what happens with a role play. When a person is playing a particular role, they get into the character so much so that the ideals and the ideologies pertaining to that particular character becomes theirs. This is what we see in role play. The ideas and ideologies. This is a very important part where we can actually tell a lot to the students. We can actually teach a lot to the students. Okay, and teachers have this particular responsibility of contributing or sharing ideas and ideologies, and we need to be very careful. A wrong idea into the mind of the child can be really counterproductive. Okay, and speaking about ideas, there is one particular saying that I came across somewhere. A virus or a bacteria or any kind of organism, a foreign organism that enters a human being can be removed. But that's not the case with ideas. Once an idea takes root in the mind, check it out for yourself. Once an idea takes root in the mind, it's not possible to remove it. That is how revolutions have happened. Revolutions are all about ideas. Take the French Revolution, for instance. Equality, liberty, and fraternity set off the complete revolution. So we need to be very, very careful about how we implant ideas into the students' minds. If that was not the case, how come, I don't know if you're really familiar with this person named Sri Aurobindo. He is a spiritual saint, very familiar to us as a spiritual saint. But before he became a spiritual saint, he was a revolutionary. He was working, he was an extremist who was working for the freedom of India. And before that, he was a teacher, an English teacher. And one day, Dr. K.M. Munshi ji, he's known as Dr. K.M. Munshi ji by all of us now, but K.M. Munshi ji, when he was a student, approached Aurobindo. He was Aurobindo's student. He approached Aurobindo and asked him, Sir, I am not able to get the idea of India into my head. I don't know what I am fighting for. And Sri Aurobindo had something very, very nice to say. And what was the thing that he had to say was, if you really want a picture of Mother India, this is how you need to do it. He pointed out to the map of India on the wall, and he said, the geography is the body of the mother. The people are the cells that make the living tissues. The language and literature were the mother's memory and speech. The spirit of the nation's culture is her living soul, and the nation's freedom and happiness is her only salvation. He gave an idea of Mother India to K.M. Munshiji, who also joined the freedom struggle. This is the power that a teacher wields. So we need to be very, very careful about how we put ideas and ideologies into the children's heads. It's not always the case that teachers give ideas. Sometimes, surprisingly, the students can give ideas to us. One particular class, I was just dealing with a lesson of Sudhamurti, and we were admiring her courage, the way she tried to write a letter to J.R.D. Tata and the way she got into telco. We were all admiring her ideals and the courage. And the students started talking about what their ideals in life were. One after the other, they went on telling, they went on sharing what their ideals were. One said that their ideal, that the person's ideal was that her ideal was to make her parents proud. Another said that they wanted to build up a rescue shelter for animals. Another said that they wanted to take care of the environment. And as this was going on, there was one particular student who stood up and he said, he's usually a very reticent kind of boy, usually does not open up much. But he stood up and he said, Madam, I do not know about ideals, and they understood the meaning of compassion and tolerance. And these are what we call teachable moments. We can actually turn them creative in creating an atmosphere for such a learning to happen. Another thing that could happen in a class to promote creativity as such is by giving open-ended questions. Okay, what I mean, a story, okay, and the students are not happy, not very satisfied with the way it is ending, then we can always ask them to contribute what can be termed as alternative endings. And you can be surprised what kind of ideas the students come up with. They can be very creative and very innovative when they come up with these ideas. And the class can become a very creative one instead of being a monotonous one when we do something like this. Open-ended questions can be used to even arouse the curiosity in a child. Let's say, for instance, we are teaching economics and we're talking about population growth and poverty, the kind of a link that is there between the two of them. If that is what we're talking about, for instance, for an example. And let us say that is what we're going to talk the next day or discuss the next day. If we leave the class with something like this, that a particular person named Jean Drèze has done a lot of research on the kind of connection that exists between poverty and population growth. And then give a little information that Jean Drèze, that is the name of the economist, Jean Drèze is actually a Belgian-born Indian economist. And end that class with a question. I wonder what Belgian-born economist is doing in India, trying to solve India's problems. If you leave the class with that kind of a statement, I am sure by the next day, by the next session that you meet them for, they will have a lot of information on Jean Drèze and the kind of work that he has done about how to control population and how to try and control poverty in the nation. So this is one particular strategy that can be always used. And as Rekha ma'am had already talked about, digital technology is a beautiful way. It's a beautiful way of bringing creativity into the classroom. Okay, And digital technology, what it does is, what I have observed from my experiences, it actually fosters collaborative work. Earlier on, whatever assignments were given to them, they were being done individually. Okay, once this particular digital technology came into existence, what kind of change has been observed is digital technology has brought these students together. They're coming up with seminars and PowerPoint presentations and all these things, and they are doing it as a team. Collaborative work is what is taking place, and in a very effective way in the classrooms because of digital technology, and that gives a lot of space for creativity. There are different perspectives about this. Okay, and one more little thing that could actually in the class is, not always do we need to push values across. Sometimes creativity can actually lead to fun in a classroom. Let's say, for instance, dialogue writing. Dialogue writing is a particular, a place where the children are asked to write a dialogue, and they're given a particular concept. Let's say a conversation between two friends about their career. Something like that is given. And this particular topic, dialogue writing, can be turned into a fun one if you can just show them a poster of two babies talking to each other and ask them to write a dialogue on it. It breaks the monotony, makes the class very relaxed, and it can contribute to their creativity as well. They can come up with great ideas. This is one more way of bringing creativity to the classroom. There are many ways. Education is not always about retention. This is precisely what we need to understand and what we need to realize. Education is not always about memorizing things. It is about innovating things. It is about critical thinking. It is about analytical thinking. And all these things can be brought into the classroom if we are a little creative. And there can be no, I'm very sure that people would agree with me that creativity plays a very important role when it comes to awarding rewards in the class. Okay, every student, every one of something that would acknowledge the person's what we call efforts, not their success. Okay, and this can be done in the form of a smile, appreciation, a pat on the back, or it could be something like what I do with my children. What I do with my children is something like this. I'm just showing this to you. I have these stamps made. Each of these stamps that you see in my hand carries a word of appreciation. The one that I have in my hand says excellent. Okay. And when I put it on the paper and give it to them, this is what they see after their return work. The word excellent written on it. And this particular thing encourages them to do better the next time. I have a stamp made with the word good, one with excellent, one with fair, one with a star. And if you think that students after a particular level do not look for these things, you can't be more wrong, because my personal experience with students has told me that this kind of thing actually helps a lot. It goes a very long way in, fostering the good habits that children have within them. And punishment should always be directed and not assign blame. We need to be very careful about this. If we go on assigning blame or criticizing the person, then automatically what we see happening is the self-esteem of the person goes down. We need to see to it that that doesn't happen at all. To try and maintain their self-esteem, we need to be very careful about punishments. And we need to be creative as well. At the same time, they should not be let go free. They should not feel that they can get away with anything that they do in the classroom. So what I do is I have a small cardboard box of chits at one corner, and anybody who's exhibited an inappropriate behavior in the class is called to the stage. They come onto the stage, they pick up a particular chit, and they read out the topic and they speak for a minute from that chit. This particular kind of, way of trying to stop them from inappropriate behavior has been very successful. Two things come out of it. They do not repeat the behavior. Second thing is they try and share their ideas with the whole class. Okay, so these kind of things can become a part of what we call creativity in the classroom. This is very important. After all, a teacher is a person who does not look for what we call rewards or any kind of a personal benefit of what they do. There was this kingdom. Let me just try and explain how this can happen. There was this kingdom once upon a time where the king's daughter, the princess, went out one day and lost a valuable necklace. Somehow this necklace was so valuable to the king that he had announced a reward. The king said, whoever finds the necklace will get my daughter's hand in marriage as well as half the kingdom. People started searching for the necklace day and night. But there came a point after a while when people stopped searching except one young man who went on searching. And that young man came upon a lake and he saw the necklace at the bottom of the lake. And he jumped into the lake and he tried to take the necklace, but he couldn't find the necklace there. A saint, you could call him a saint, a person sitting in the shade of a tree who was watching all this happening. He just stood up and approached that young man and he said, if you cannot find what you're looking for, where you're looking for, you look around. He guided that person. And when that man looked around, he actually realized that it was the shadow of the necklace that he was seeing in the pond, not the necklace as such. And then when he saw the necklace on the top branch of the tree, he began to climb up the tree. And this man was supervising his climbing. And finally, he found the necklace, came down, thanked that old man for guiding him. And he asked the old man to share the appreciation or the awards to be awarded to him. But the old man refused to do so. He simply patted, gave his blessings to the young man and moved away. This is what teachers do. They guide the students, watch them while they're making efforts, while they set out on the path of self-discovery. And once that is done, once the job is done, when the child or the student learns what he has to, just simply bless them and move away, not taking credit for whatever the student has achieved. What the student has achieved will be his alone. This is precisely what teachers do. They help in fostering the good habits. They help in the students in making efforts and getting to the place that they want to, and they never take any credit for whatever efforts the student has made. In this connection, I would also like to share a little thing that is a letter, if I can share on the screen. I don't know if I can do it. Let me just see. Yeah. I would like to share a little letter that was written by Abraham Lincoln. And this is what he says to the teacher of his son. He says, "Dear teacher, please take him by his hand and teach him things he will have to know. Teaching him gently if you can. Teach him that for every enemy there is a friend. He will have to know that all men are not just, that all men are not true. But teach him also that for every scoundrel there is a hero. that for every crooked politician, there is a leader. There is a dedicated leader. Teach him, if you can, that 10 cents earned is of far more value than a dollar found. In school, teacher, it is far more honorable to fail than to cheat. Teach him to learn how to gracefully lose and enjoy winning when he does win. Teach him to be gentle with people, tough with tough people. Steer him away from envy if you can, and teach him the secret of quiet laughter. Teach him, if you can, how to laugh when he's sad. Teach him there is no shame in tears. Teach him that there can be glory in failure and despair in success. Teach him to scoff at sin. Teach him, if you can, the wonders of books, but also give time to ponder the extreme mystery of birds in the sky, bees in the sun, flowers on a green hill. Teach him to have faith in his own ideas, even if everyone tells him that they are wrong. Try to give my son the strength not to follow the crowd when everyone else is doing it. Teach him to listen to everyone, but teach him also to filter all that he hears on a screen of truth and take only the good that comes through. Teach him to sell his talents and brains to the highest bidder, but never to put a price tag on his heart and soul. Tell him to have the courage to be impatient. Let him have the patience to be brave. Teach him to have sublime faith in himself, because then he will always have sublime faith in mankind and in God. This is the order, teacher, but see what best you can do. This is what Abraham Lincoln writes to the teacher of his son. From this, we can gather what kind of power a teacher has in molding the personality of a person. And if we are all passionate about a job, if we are all dedicated and committed to what we are doing, it's not a difficult thing to achieve. As long as the love for that particular job is there in our hearts, as long as we are passionate about teaching and guiding our students in the right path and making them into fruitful citizens of this country, responsible citizens of this country who are very responsible in executing their actions, then definitely the job of a teacher is done. As long as we have that love within us, it's not going to be a difficult thing to do. Just as Harivansh Rai Bachchan says in one of his poems, कुछ किए बिना ही जय जयकार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती. Okay, with this particular little sentence from the poem of Harivansh Rai, I wish that we all can, make a lot of efforts and see to it that the future citizens of the country become really productive, responsible for themselves as well as the society around. Thank you so much for this opportunity, for giving me this opportunity to talk and share my ideas, though they probably restricted, because my experience is all about being a language teacher. Whatever I do in my classroom, I have shared with you. These are not things that I've picked up from books. It's been something that I have experienced personally, and my students have often been my teachers. Blessing all of them, and thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I would like to stop this session and let's go for the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's a very enriching and fruitful session.
Thank you so much.
We'll take the questions now.
maybe something like 10 or 15 minutes. What do you think? What do they think the solutions for the problem are? And these particular things actually can be read out. Okay, starting we can do this. Later on, we can just move a little and ask them to stand up, whatever hole they have been caught up in. That can be done. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, next question. Nikhilesh Jivaji, are you ready, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am.
Namaste.
Good evening. Ma'am, my query is, my name is Ajay Kumar. I'm a faculty from Vijayanagar College of Commerce, Hyderabad.
Yes, sir.
My query is with, I'm referring to the pedagogy in the current context.
Yes, sir.
So, I have one question with you, ma'am. See, it is different to the present content. And here it doesn't tell us what students learn, but how they learn.
In the previous class and say this is what we are going to discuss about in the next class and arouse some kind of curiosity in some way with them. We will read that you wanted.
No, it's clear.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You've given me a lot of food for thought, Sometimes what happens is we are so complacent. We are so happy with what we are doing. We don't think of alternative ways of doing things. When people question us, that sets us thinking. Now, I've just made a note of what you've asked me, and I'm definitely going to think more about it because this is very pertinent to what we are doing in our classrooms. Thank you so much for raising this question. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Next question is from Kiran Kadam. Sir, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Please.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, actually, I would like to ask how to maintain the tempo or wrap up the teaching as we are teaching in the classrooms. Because there are different types of students there are.
Yes.
Concerning with the IQ, some are slow learners, some are intermediate and fast learners.
Yes.
Then what is our strategy to teach the students? Should we consider the slow learners or the fast learners?
Okay. One beauty about teaching is the diverse people that we have. Okay.
Yes.
So what we can do is we can keep the fast ones engaged by giving them challenging tasks. Okay.
Yeah.
And we can ask them to speak about that particular topic that we are discussing in the class on the stage. Now, the slow learners probably need personal attention. So what we can actually do is we can ask the learners who are already familiar with the subject to help the slow learners. And we can actually supervise the whole thing. Okay. This is a beautiful strategy that can really work because I've done it myself in a lot of classrooms on the advice of my principal and my colleagues. We've actually tried it and we've seen that it works out. Slow learners need not be taught by the teacher. The teacher need not take the responsibility. The teacher can actually assign the responsibility to the students who are very fast at learning. And these fast learners will become more thorough at the subject. They will come to fall more in love with the subject that they are doing. They feel actually proud that they are teaching somebody who needs help from them. And it actually forges a bond between the students, bond between the classmates. Okay. So this kind of a scenario can be set in the classroom to take care of the slow learners. Let the fast ones take care of the slow ones.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. This is something that happens to all of us. Okay. First thing that we have to do is try and detach ourselves from that particular stress. See, there is one particular thing that happens. lot of people, stress is actually, from the little that I know, stress can be something that we call distress. That is very, very, that's very harmful for us. Okay. And there is something called as eustress. Okay. We need to know the distinction between these two. Now, this particular thing called eustress actually makes us perform better. We can see this happening in our own students, and so is the case with us. There are some students who perform at the maximum potential when you put stress on them. When you say tomorrow is the exam and within 1 hour, I want that particular assignment from you or some such thing, they do their best. And there are some students who actually take so much of stress that their performance level goes down. Same is the case with people also. Some teachers enjoy challenges, they don't get stressed out. Some teachers are so complacent in their thinking, they don't want to change, they resist change so much. So when there is something new that comes up, they get stressed out and they lose their stability. In such a case, what they need to do is try to come up with some kind of a relaxation technique that can take them away from this. If you are a person who likes music, you can just listen to music and de-stress yourself and stabilize whatever feelings are going on in your mind. For a minute, detach yourself, your emotions from your own self, become a kind of an observant. Observe what is happening within you. Okay, so take away that particular thing that I am the one getting stressed. Okay, you just try and detach yourself in such a way that you observe how that stress is working on you. When that happens, why did it happen? What can I do about it? These kind of little dialogues, an internal dialogue. What I would call this is an internal dialogue. When you try to impart this internal dialogue with you, definitely you can come up with some solution. Okay, we have the capability to distress ourselves within. Slowly, when you sit down at a calm place and try to analyze why the stress is working on you, slowly you will come up with answers. Have that internal dialogue. That is the best answer for this. Stressful situations, you cannot escape. They're always there in life. They are a part and parcel of life. They're always going to be there. The only thing that we can do is become a kind of an observer and detach ourselves from that particular stressful situation and see what is the reason for stress and thereby come up with a solution for that particular stress. Talk it out. Most often we get distressed. Actually have a person who can listen to us. Okay, so that's the best way you can stabilize your life. Talk it out, express. When you're expressing what is there going on within you, you will get a clarity in your own thinking. You will understand what is going wrong with you and you will rectify it by yourself. It's not always necessary for you to run to a counselor. You can be your own counselor. You can actually try and tell yourself to come out of that situation. What is called as self-hypnosis. Give auto-suggestions that this particular stressful situation is something that has been given to me so that I can become a better version of myself. The minute you think this, you will be able to handle the stressful situation. Stability will automatically come.
Very well said, madam. That's very good. And here I have a combination of questions which mean the same. So I am asking you in a combined manner how to motivate the students to attend the classes in a proper manner and how to make them concentrate in the class.
Okay. One thing is that can be done, how to motivate the students to attend classes. That is, we need to give incentives. Incentive in many forms. Okay, like, if you attend my class today, the next class we will have, I'm a language teacher. Okay, what works for me is games. Okay, and I'm going to play what are called as word games. Today's class, you listen to me and you do the assigned work and submit it to me. Next class, we are going to play a word game for a while. Okay, so that breaks the monotony immediately. One thing that children love is novelty. Every time you need to try something new. When the class gets monotonous, they get bored and they stay away from it. When you're sure that you can make the class interesting and you're giving them something new to achieve and learn, they will come. That's the best way to motivate. And to keep their attention in the classroom, we've discussed all these techniques. The best way to keep the attention of the child in the classroom is to show that his presence is important there. The minute he sees that his presence is going to make a difference to the classroom, they will know. I mean, they will always be there. They will not go away. They will be there. We need to find some kind of technique to make every student in the classroom feel important. All of them will be there. They will not abscond from the class. Some kind of technique where we assign a responsibility to them. Some kind of technique where we can actually grant them recognitions. Then definitely it will happen. Okay, so something like, tomorrow after the session is done, I would like you to talk about your favorite hobby. They want to share their ideas, recognition, they want identity. And so when you come up with tasks like this, they will definitely end up coming to the class. This can be tried out. And what works for one may work for somebody else, may not work for somebody else. Each teaching situation, each classroom situation is unique. So according to that, we need to go. Okay, incentives. Think of incentives. As long as that incentive is there, they'll be there. But don't turn it into a bribe. There is a very, very thin line between giving an incentive and turning it into a bribe. Don't make them expect it all the time. Okay? They have to be made to realize that attending that particular class is a reward in its own self. That's how we need to turn the class into. This is the only answer I have at this particular point of time. Probably as people think, probably they can come up with different solutions for this question. Thank you so much.
One more question to you, madam. We have many number of questions posted here in the chat box.
Please go ahead.
I'm trying to combine and then give you in a nutshell what they want.
No problem. I think we have ample time. Actually, this is really interesting. I'm actually coming up with certain solutions for my own problems as I'm answering to these. This is wonderful. Yes.
Very nice, madam. So this is like, if this goes like this, could you please give us some effective ways to teach vernacular students who feel English is a tiger, and what we should do when we get angry in a class, how to handle. And then there is also something like students are not really interested in reading a text and they are very casual. How to make them effective?
Let me just try and break these questions into three. What was the first one that you had asked? Vernacular, right?
Vernacular languages.
Okay.
Who feel that English is a tiger?
Okay, English is a tiger, right? Okay, this is a very, very, very pertinent question, especially in the scenario of the kind of educational policy that's been given by our government recently, the NEP, being taught in mother tongue. Must have come as a relief to many students actually. But let me just talk about this, but let me address this question. Vernacular language. One thing that I would like to tell the person who has posed this wonderful question is, do not slip into the vernacular language even if you know it in the classroom. Don't. Yes, my mother tongue is Telugu. Okay, and most of the students I teach in the class, I know their mother tongue is also Telugu. It is very easy for me to explain something that cannot be understood by those children in Telugu. It's an automatic thing, but resist it. For learning a language, the student has to struggle to learn the language in its own way. Okay, so do not slip into the vernacular language or try and explain the text in the vernacular language in the class. Stick to English. Only thing you can do is become a performer on the stage. When you are giving a very difficult sentence or something, try to enact it out. Learn from the students about dumb charades, how you can actually express yourself. Let the student get what you're trying to convey in those words through your gestures. Slowly but surely, they will fall into track. If they make a mistake, encourage them to ask questions. And when they are asking questions, do not let them use the vernacular. I don't want the question in Telugu or Hindi. Please give it to me in English. Doesn't matter even if they are using broken English. None of this is perfect. Okay, let them give it in vernacular English only. But what you can do is, after the question is given for them, without pointing the mistakes, you can read out, reframe it in the proper way. Automatically, what happens with the ego getting hurt, they will understand where they made a mistake. What you're doing is this what you want to ask, my dear? You just say this. Is this what you want to ask? And then you reframe the question that they have asked in a proper way. Automatically, they will get where they've gone wrong, what grammatical mistake they have made. This is precisely how you have to do it. Okay? Teaching in mother tongue is not advisable. If you want the child to be good at English in such a way that they can converse with anybody who can come from any part of the world, teaching in English is the best way only. You cannot slip into the mother tongue at any point of time. Even if you feel the temptation, resist it. Resist the temptation of slipping into the vernacular. Use simple words. Don't go fast. See to it that the person can take in what you're saying. That will definitely make you successful in it. That will definitely. What was the other part?
Yeah, a part was how to control anger when you are in a class. You are very angry. You don't want to show it.
I'll tell you something. Children are always testing us. The minute we show anger, they push us more to the corner. So never ever display our anger in front of them. Okay? You're angry, just go on with your class. Okay? Try and calm yourself. Think of the children as your own. Simple. If your own child makes you angry, okay, how patient are you with them? How patient are you with them? The same thing you need to carry to the classroom. When you say that every child in this class who's sitting in front of me, naughty and trying to test my patience, is my own child, automatically the tolerance will come. The tolerance will come automatically the minute you think that this is my child. There's nothing else that we can. Counting numbers only will help us to a certain extent. Diverting the attention in the class can only help us to a certain extent. Every time, this is one thing that has worked for me. The minute you connect with them with your heart, they will listen. They will listen. You have to show that kind of affection towards them. Then you should show. You should let them understand that you care for them, that you're bothered about them. The minute they understand this, they will behave themselves. They will behave themselves. They will not disturb us. Maternal love and affection is the answer. That is something that has worked for me. So I'm sharing it out with you. Yes.
We should be very patient when we are dealing with students.
Yes.
Yes. We show that we care for them. That works wonders.
Precisely. That is precisely what works. Yeah.
Thank you, madam. There are many more questions that are there, but now I want to give the chance to the questions maybe from the YouTube or from the party.
We'll come back to you again. We'll come back to you again in a short while. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Swati Vaidya, ma'am.
Yeah.
Are you ready for
Hello.
the question? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me to ask a question.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And I just loved your interaction and your speech.
Thank you.
Excellent. Very motivating, very inspiring.
Thank you.
And I can say very camaraderie. I could relate to you a lot.
Oh, wonderful. Then we are friends.
Yeah,
Let's shake hands on this. Let's shake hands on this. Yes. Yes.
I just want to ask you something which came to my mind.
Yeah.
It has happened to me 2-3 times. Suppose there is a good student or there is a group of good students,
Okay.
and you see them kind of, digressing from studies. And when you see them digressing from studies, I decided that, okay, fine, I will give them some kind of a survey activity.
Okay.
Well, that kind of, with the intention that they may be able to go out and they will be able to use very unconventional learning methods. But I got very mixed kind of results. So I really want to ask this question to the audience and to you especially to think about it. What can be done?
Where you're coming from. I perfectly understand where you're coming from. See, one thing with these good students is they're very clever. They know how to manipulate us. And often whatever we are trying out may actually boomerang. What we are trying with them is all trial and error. There are 50% of chances of success and 50% of failure. We need to take that risk. We need to take that risk. But one thing that we can bank on with good students is every human being, basically, they want to be useful, they want to be needed. Give them some kind of an activity where they get this personal satisfaction. Once they get this personal satisfaction, it's like they are addicted to it.
Yes.
Give them some kind of assigned work in such a way that they get this personal satisfaction. Incentive does not come only in the form of money or praises or credits or marks.
Direct utility.
Yes.
They find, yeah, this is
useful.
This will help me in future.
That gives a lot of satisfaction.
And over and above that, I like what you said was there is a 50% chance.
Yes.
It may not work.
It is not foolproof. We are not working with gadgets. We are working with people. But till we succeed, we have to keep trying. Never ever give up. Never ever give up. Because it is people we are dealing with. It is our children. It is the future generation. It is the future of our country that we are dealing with. As long as we have this thing working at the back of our mind, whatever we do will definitely work out. It will. Because we put a lot of
maybe not during that particular assignment. Maybe later.
Yes. Maybe not with that person. Maybe not somebody because he has got some kind of walls erected already. Okay. But definitely there will be a person you can reach.
Very.
It will always happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much for a wonderful reaction. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Yeah.
Next question, ma'am, from Akhil Jena.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please go on.
Namaste. Yes, sir.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Jena from Odisha.
Yes, sir.
What is the meaning of pedagogical treatment of contents?
Now, this is jargon for me too. I'm sorry, I have to get what you said. Can you just come back again? Can you pronounce that for me again?
Pedagogical treatment of contents.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not very familiar with this technical term. I don't have an answer for your question. Probably I can look it up and maybe mail the answer to you after a while.
No. What is the meaning of pedagogical treatment?
Can you spell it out? I'm sorry, I'm not able to get you. There is some kind of a disturbance, some kind of a noise, that's not allowing me to. Can you type it out for me? Can you type it out for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
By the time somebody else got anybody else.
Dr. Ahmad Hussain. Dr. Ahmad Hussain.
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready with my question.
Yeah, please go on.
First of all, thank you very much, madam, for
Thank you,
the
sir. My pleasure, sir.
informative deliberation.
Yes, sir.
I have to say that whatever you have said in your lecture, that is perfectly correct beyond doubt.
Yes, sir.
But when we move from theory to practice, we find a difference of earth and sky.
Difference of what?
Earth and sky. What we learn in theory, how to teach our student, and what we see in practical on the ground level, there is a difference of earth and sky.
Okay, sir. I admit.
How to minimize the gap?
Okay.
How to minimize this gap?
Okay. Let me just tell you, I admit to this that there is a difference of earth and sky. And what I have given you is an ideal situation. I understand this. But can you tell me, let me give you a return question.
Yes.
Can you give me one particular incident from probably your own experience where you saw this kind of difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So many times.
Yes, yes. One instance, no?
My so many friends belongs to teaching profession, and most of them most of them have joined this profession. Either they have got an easy resource to join it, or after completing a formal degree, D.Ed or B.Ed like this, but they have acquired the degree just for the sake of having the job, but they are not passionate about teaching.
Okay.
So when they teach or when they talk about their students, I find them very illogical.
Okay.
They are just doing their duty formally.
Yes, sir. That is always there. That is a risk that is there, sir. See, just as, sir, all fingers of a hand are not the same. We all agree with that, right?
Yes.
So, what we need to be bothered about is how committed are we to it? What is my commitment to the profession? Just ignore all the others, sir. Just ignore all of them. What is my commitment to the profession? What did I learn? What is, what am I willing to give to see to it that my children perform well? My children are on the right track. My children succeed in life in every way. What am I willing to give? This is what we need to bother about. Just ignore, absolutely ignore what the other people are trying to say. They will be illogical people. They will be people who have different ways of thinking. They will interfere with our thinking. They will try to change it. But we need to stick to our ideals. See, we have learned from, I'm sure you have been impressed or you have come across some teacher who has taught you or has inspired you to become a teacher yourself.
They are very less in number.
Yeah, we are very less in number, definitely. Sir, but sometimes what happens is this less in number can actually make a huge difference. No problem.
Of course.
No problem. As long as we are committed to what we are doing, as long as we are passionate about it, as long as we have the love for it, and as long as we have good intentions in our mind, divine will be with us. Inshallah, definitely. Because I have seen your name, I'm using this particular term to you.
Yes,
Definitely, we will see a better future for our children tomorrow because of our contributions. Because of our contributions, because of what we have given them. As long as we are sure about that, things will work out. Ignore what other people are trying to do, sir. Just be true to your own self.
Yes.
That should work.
Thank you, ma'am. Very satisfactory answer.
Thank you so much, sir. It's my pleasure.
Okay, Sasikala ma'am. Sasikala ma'am, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Uma Uma ma'am, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, yes, back to you, Mama.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have many questions here again. I am waiting for the chance.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah. So, Dr. Sharad Kulkarni is asking
Yes.
how to react to fellow teachers' criticism apart from neglecting while introducing experimental teaching and learning process.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that we have to see is go with that utilitarian principle, maximum benefit to maximum number of people. If you feel that whatever experimental method you're using in the class is going to benefit the students, you need to try and convince the others about the importance of it or the utility of it. That you have raised in the first part of your question, how to ignore or how to handle the criticism of other lecturers. So this is always there. It's always there in all organizations. One thing is always try and put them aside, pay a deaf ear to them. Okay, have one particular thing in your mind always. I am true to myself. Okay, as Dr. Abdul Kalam himself said, as long as you're performing your duty to the best of your ability, without taking any kind of shortcuts, without taking any kind of wrong path, you need not be afraid of anyone. Okay, criticisms will keep coming and going. But one thing, sir, always remember that how many ever people try to malign you, how many ever people try to give wrong information about you to somebody else, after a while, time will tell what the truth is. Have faith in that. Have faith in that. Definitely, the truth will come and people will realize what your true worth is. What you need to do till then is be patient. Do not give up on your ideals. And just because somebody has criticized you, don't feel hurt or inferior. Have pride in the work that you're doing. That kind of pride is required. That pride and the ambition where you have set your goals. That's what is important. Keep doing your good work till people realize what your true worth is. And ignore that criticism that's coming around you. This is the answer I have for you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Right, madam. There is, 2 or 3 questions which come from the village background.
Yes.
They are asking, what about the students who are from the rural background who have very poor communication skills and they are not really ready?
Okay. Okay. This particular question can be answered in only one way, sir. How dedicated you are to the upliftment of them. Are you willing to give away a personal time? Are you willing to give some personal time of yours to see to it that they improve? If you're willing to do that, nothing is impossible. I have myself worked in a rural area, sir. And let me just tell you, I was a lecturer in a degree college in Jaigityal. And my students were students who used to come in the early morning with their produce from their farms, sell it in the Dwakra Mahila market, and then come to the classes. Those are the kind of students I taught. Very, very self-respecting. I used to appreciate the dignity of labor, the sense of dignity of labor that they had in them. I saw students, sir, who were actually, rolling BDs on one side and having a textbook on the other lap. They are people who are committed to learning. And if you can give a part of your personal time to them, you will be doing them and the nation a big favor. If you're willing to give them that personal time, that is why I was asking, how dedicated are you to this goal of upliftment of these village and rural children? If you give them that time, then definitely upliftment of them is not a big issue at all. That is why I said, if you're in love with the profession that you're doing, and you're willing to spare some time, and you're willing to sit with them and work along with them, you should So one thing you need to do is just put away a feeling that you are the teacher and they are the learner. You need to get down to their level.
Yes.
You can get down to their level, sit beside them and become what are called as joint learners. Look at yourself as a joint learner and learn along with them. There is nothing impossible. You can actually bring them to a greater level. Probably somebody on par with the best of the cream of the students that we have in this country. It's not difficult because the one thing that they have within them that will help them develop is hard work and commitment. You just need to foster that. You need to see to it that that fire that is there within them does not get extinguished. And the only way you can see to it that the fire does not get extinguished is be with them, keep fanning the flame when it is getting extinguished. The minute you see that the flame is going low, fan it so that it burns bright. And that requires effort, that requires commitment, that requires time. If you're willing to give it to the student in that particular area who is willing to learn, nothing like it. Gems can be brought out from those areas. Yes.
Right, madam. That is true. I have experimented with my own students here in the city.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Did it work? Did it work?
Of course, madam. Now I have few students who have got signed, unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 situation. They're able to go to America, but they are now see the level they have achieved.
Yes.
And I have
the only thing is we are happy seeing them at that particular level. Okay, but we never take the credit for it.
Extremely happy for them.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. That is the satisfaction. That is what we work for as teachers, ma'am. Not for the salaries that we get.
Right.
The satisfaction seeing them in such posts. It is the satisfaction for them turning into such wonderful individuals. That is the satisfaction that we are working for.
Right, madam. That is
right.
There is one more question from Dr. Gayatri Girish Mishra. Yes. She is asking, do you think language is the bar of knowledge?
That's a very difficult question to answer. Okay. Okay. No, not always. Let me just give you a clarification here. See, a person can be very bad with language, but they can be very good at problem-solving skills. I have seen personally from my own class. They excel. They're very skillful at solving problems. You just give them to it, give them just a few minutes, they will give you the answer in a few seconds. So what is that? Language is one part of knowledge, not everything. The thing is, we do not know how knowledgeable a person is unless they express themselves in language. Language is only a medium. It is definitely not the bar of knowledge. You cannot measure a person's knowledge by the language that they have. I have friends who've come from Telugu medium. I have students who've come from Telugu medium, and with their persistence and hard work, they are at the topmost and in most wonderful positions, all due to their knowledge. Language is only a medium. It is not the bar of knowledge. It can never be the measure of knowledge a person has. Definitely not. Yes, ma'am.
There is one more question which is saying from Gopal Rao. He is saying that sometimes he can speak in mother tongue in the classroom. How do you react to that?
As I told you, I would definitely discourage Mr. Gopal Rao from speaking in mother tongue in the classroom. One thing is, they have certain expectations from the teacher. When you are an English teacher, they have a certain expectation. If you slip from the language that you're supposed to talk into the vernacular, somehow the image goes down. It is not a very good thing that is happening, but that's the ground reality. I have seen it happening in some of my classes. The minute I slip into Telugu, somehow, that is precisely when I learned that I'm not supposed to use Telugu in the classroom, that I need to stick to English. The minute you slip into the mother tongue, they have a lesser image of you. So So it's always, and it is always in the interest of the students that we need to be consistent. Let us use one language consistently. Slipping from one language into the other in a classroom for the benefit of the students is not a good thing to do. Please desist from doing it, sir. If it is compulsory and you're teaching a translation of a particular work that has been translated to English, maybe you will have to use a word here and there. But as much as possible, resist the temptation to slipping into the mother tongue. Because that particular language, that particular hour has been designed or has been allocated for English, stick to that. Outside the classroom, when you're personally interacting with the student or the student's parents, that's a different matter. That's a different matter altogether. But in the classroom, maintain the standards. That's good for everyone, somehow. That's my personal opinion. You may differ with it. It's not necessary that everybody has to agree with me. Okay? We are free to disagree. Let's agree to disagree. No problem. Yes, yes. No problem at all.
Yeah. Very nicely answered, madam.
Thank you so much.
I don't have
any more questions?
No, any more questions. There is only an inquiry about tomorrow's session. Kartika, please announce what will be tomorrow's session. That is all, madam. I don't have any other.
I have one raised hand here, Kesha Sharma. Dr. Kesha Sharma.
Yes, yes, sir. Hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, madam. I am Dr. Kesha Sharma, working as an assistant professor at Pendekanti Institute of Management.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Very wonderful session I have come across. Today I felt that one of my childhood teachers is teaching me the concept.
Sir, that's such a beautiful compliment. I'm going to record this and keeping. I'm going to just lock it away in my memory. Thank you so much.
Very clear-cut explanation I had.
Yes, sir.
And
please, sir.
Few doubts. Even though we had several years of experience, always every year is a challenging for us.
Yes, sir.
We get the students from various rural backgrounds as well as city. So even student is studied from the city colleges. So to interact with the faculty members in their mother tongue, either in Telugu or in Hindi. So as the business management students, do they need to realize to speak in only English, or can they interact in their mother tongue? So it is about, apart from the classroom, out of the classroom. So when it is classroom, obviously we restrict ourselves to English, because for the business management students, communicating in English is mandatory.
Yes, yes.
Out of classroom, casual interactions, can we encourage the students to interact in Telugu or in their own mother tongue?
Yes, sir. To a certain extent, actually. See, thing is, what happens out of the classroom is communication is important. As long as you are able to understand what he is speaking and he is able to understand what your response is, even if you slip into the vernacular language or the mother tongue, it doesn't matter, sir. I don't think it should matter. This is my personal opinion. I don't know if everybody agrees with it or not, but this is my personal opinion. Here what happens is in the classroom, medium of instruction takes priority. Okay. And because there are certain standards that you need to maintain, there is a certain kind of an atmosphere you need to maintain. And that is actually in the interest of the benefit of the students, you're sticking to English. But outside the classroom, what takes priority is the message that they want to convey, not the language. So if they are in deep trouble and they want to confess to you, they want some advice from you, and they are emotional, to ask them to communicate in English would be foolishness.
Exactly.
Because the message takes priority there. What you want to do there is you want to understand what the other person is trying to convey to you, and you want to try and be able to help them to solve what their problem is or understand what their feelings are about whatever they're speaking. Yes. So my message is important.
Yes, ma'am. And one more small doubt.
Yes, sir.
It is an extension to the doubt clarification, whatever you have given.
Yes.
When criticizing, you said that fine, okay, we have to leave them to their aspect only, and see, obviously when the truth comes, they will realize. Yes. But see, if we wait for a certain time, the damage, whatever so has to happen, that happens.
The damage happens. Yes, I know. This is a thing that we need to really consider. But what is the alternative? What is the alternative? If a person has criticized you, and if you can actually go to the management all by yourself and try and have what you call a clear dialogue with the management and try to dispel whatever the misunderstanding is, that's fine. That's absolutely great. But if you can't do that, and if the management is also convinced about whatever criticism that the other person has given, or the other teacher is also convinced about the criticism that is being given about you, in such a situation, if you actually resist or if you want to try and change the other person's mind, you will only fail, sir. They've already made up their mind to think negative of you. If you want to change their mind, only time has to change, or you have to allow circumstances to change it. If you try and change it by your talk, it can't happen, because they already set up a wall. They're already convinced that that what you're saying is not right, what somebody else has said is right. So what will you do then? You have to wait for the truth to come out. Patiently wait for it. Yes, that's the only alternative I see. If the person is a person who can look at both sides of the coin, if the person is a person who is open-minded, okay, if the person is actually broad-minded or open-minded, he will not let the criticism of you by somebody affect at all, first point. But if that person is narrow-minded, how much can you change? To what extent can you go to change the person's impressions? That's the question there. What can you do to change the person's impression of you if they've already decided to have a particular kind of image of you, or decided to believe something wrong about you? If you try and convince, they'll become even more angry, even more adamant. So somehow this particular situation is a solution. I mean, I don't know, I don't see any solution. This is something that everybody has to tackle individually, I suppose. Nobody can advise anybody on this. Situation is different, the kind of people are different. Okay, so unless you have an understanding about the other person, you cannot know how to go about solving the problem.
Okay, ma'am, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll take the last question for today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sunil Abraham, sir, are you ready with the question?
Yeah. Yes. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Crystal clear.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes.
And thank you very much for that very enlightening lecture on the creative pedagogy.
Yes, sir.
I have two statements to make. First is a question, that is, what is your view with regard to presenting the topics in a vernacular language as far as your subject is concerned, not the language, but your subject? That means I am teaching economics. So what is your view if I present the views in my mother tongue, the topics about the economics? So is it okay, or do you have any different opinion to that? So first
okay, sir. Sir, one thing that can be done is, see if the particular institute has confirmed or has decided to stick to a particular medium of instruction, then it is not in our hands. Okay, we have already advertised that we are an English medium school or an English medium college, then we have to go ahead teaching in English medium only. If the student has a problem in understanding a particular concept in English, then you can ask the student to approach you after the college, after that particular hour, give them a particular, allocate some time for them, and tell them interaction where you can explain that concept in the vernacular language. But in a classroom scenario, when all the students are present, since you're already confirmed to the fact that you're an English medium college or an English medium institution where the instruction has to be in English, please stick to that.
Okay.
Because later on, problems the idea. So I shifted to the vernacular. No problem there. Nobody can take that right away from you.
Okay.
Of making the student understand in whichever way possible, because we approach you and have a kind of a
papers with your research papers. So the time that can allow for a creativity in my class is very limited. I'm not sure whether it's my problem or it's a common problem.
Okay.
I think there is a point in this.
Yeah. There's definitely a point in this, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know actually how much of whatever I'm going to say is going to help you solve the problem, but think about what I'm trying to say. Okay,
Sure.
you can actually give the topic that you're going to say to the students maybe a week before itself. Okay. Tell the students that this is the topic. Give them the keywords that you're going to include in that particular topic. Ask them to read up about it. Okay. Let them once the particular student has come to a particular level, let's say the college level, where he's doing graduation or whatever, certain understanding is already there. They're capable of understanding certain concepts on their own. They don't need the assistance of a teacher. Encourage self-learning, sir. Give them the keynotes, give them the keywords. These are the topics I'm going to teach you on so and so day in the allocated time. You can just tell them that and let them go through either through the textbook or through whatever information is given on the internet. Let them already be familiar with the concept. Then what happens is there is no need for you to take too much time to drive the concept into their head. They're already familiar with the concept. And then what you can do is you can give some time for your creativity. You can allow some kind of discussion to take place in your class because they're already familiar with the concept.
Okay, ma'am, we'll try it out. Sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
I don't know how far it would work, but you can just try it.
I will
because anything that works is something that's good for us. That's good news for us.
Of course, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. We had a wonderful question answer session today. Very fruitful.
Yes,
before we go for the vote of thanks, ma'am, if you permit me, I just have an announcement to make.
Yes, please. Please go ahead, Karthika.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dear friends, tomorrow is the last day. We are the 7th day of our FDP, and we are going to have a session. It is teacher as a motivator in shaping the personality of the student. That is going to be the theme tomorrow by Dr. Nivedita Chalil from Mumbai. Okay, and followed by the valedictory session tomorrow. Okay, the session will be followed by the valedictory session. And you have been a wonderful audience all these days. And what we want is we would want you to talk tomorrow. Some of you can, give us the feedback of the FDP. We want some of you to talk tomorrow. So that would be really, it will be a wonderful feedback for us, for us tomorrow. So that's the announcement, the instructions. Now I request Pardasad sir to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening. On behalf of Keshav Memorial Institute of Commerce and Sciences, I thank Madam Anuradha Garu for her valuable words. I thank the management and principal sir for encouraging us. I thank all the participants for their active participation. Last but not the least, I thank all my colleagues for their support. I thank one and all on behalf of Keshav Memorial Institute of Commerce and Sciences. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. So if I have been able to reach you in some way through this session, please let me just admit to you on this platform publicly, it is because I've had great teachers teaching me. And if I haven't been able to reach you, if I have offended your sensibilities at any point of time, said something that you don't agree with, that is my own personal thing. Okay. That means I have not learned very well, and there is a lot more learning that I need to do still. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot to all the faculty members of Keshav Memorial College and the principal specifically for this wonderful session. It was a great exposure for me, and the question answers session was absolutely out of this world. Outstanding. Thanks a lot for this experience. It's been so meaningful.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. You have reached 100% of your goal. Our goal, especially Karthika's goal. And the Department of English has been trying hard to conduct this program and inviting you for this program.
Yes,
You made
sir.
it
Thank
very
you so
successful.
much.
And
Thank you, sir.
we will definitely invite you once this pandemic situation is over to our college, ma'am.
Oh, that would be a wonderful
We'll
thing
be
to
very
do.
happy if you can come and speak to our students
Yes,
directly.
yes, sir.
Where we also have the same problem, meritorious, average students and below average.
Yes, yes,
So you can talk to them and you can also give your guidance and at all the time to our
such a big and such kind words. Thank you so much for it, sir. You've made my day. Thanks a lot, sir.
Another place we'll have a snap. Prasad ji, you are there. We'll have a snap.
Sure, sir. I'm ready with that.
Yeah, please. And
it's after all a snap. Something to keep.
Yes, ma'am.
Participants, please turn on your cameras. Participants, please turn on your cameras.
Only 3-4 members are turn on their camera.
In second page also there are very good number of faculty members.
Sunil Abraham, sir.
Deepika madam appeared. Uma madam not appeared. Anuradha madam also not appeared.
Uma.
Yeah.
Uma is there.
All are there, sir.
Uma madam just appeared, but Anuradha madam camera is not appeared.
Anuradha ma'am is also, her camera is turned on.
Okay.
Sunil Abraham, Dr. Sunil. Maybe you are in the car. Yesterday you are in the car. Dr. Krishnamurthy garu, thank you very much for attending all our programs. Thank you.
Yeah, done, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Jalandhar, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Welcome. Shall I end the meeting now, right now?
Tomorrow is a big program.
Yes, sir.
All of you please be prepared.
So all the participants are requested to be in time. Immediately after the session, we will be having a valedictory as well. So we'll have a long session. Be ready for that.